We are live and on time. A miracle. How's everybody doing? I'm going to talk a little bit about relays tonight. I'm going to go over it with a 12-volt test light. The notifications just went out, so we're going to just talk about what our projects are, our automotive projects, and we'll just, I thought I'd go over how to check a relay with a 12-volt test light, because a lot of people don't have a multimeter. So it's nice to be able to check it with a test light. So anyway, I'm hoping we'll get some people from some of the other platforms. Welcome to the live. We're going to talk about relay operation. Hey, Will, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Yeah, I just got off work at 4 o'clock, so it was I don't know if I gave myself enough time to get these ready. I'm starting to think not. Probably should have gave myself a little more time. It's working out though. I'm back, working these 9-hour days is hard on an old man. Anyway, tonight I thought we could talk about our projects. I didn't check my email, man. I hope nobody sent me stuff I didn't see. Hey, Motor, how you doing? Oh, you got your lights already? Awesome. What do you think of them? What's your first impression? I was really impressed with them. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give another one of these away next Friday, this coming Friday. For any of you that haven't been to the Friday night, we give away tools on Friday night, and we're gonna give away another one of these Yigo LEDs. Let's see, I can't see the thing. Oh, you like them? Yeah, I thought they were nice too. I was really impressed by them. I really was. Like I said, for the price, they're $11. They make an 8-pack now. You can get an 8-pack for $88, and they're good quality. I thought about taking one of these and powering it up and dropping it in a fish tank just to see how long it would last under the water. I don't know if they claim that they're sealed like that, but I thought it'd be fun to try. Anyway, I put a post out on Instagram tonight, and then I put one out on a short. So we'll see how many people we get coming in here tonight. But I thought what I'd do is go over a relay with a 12-volt test light, because a lot of I know I've hit relays a lot lately, but honestly, if you learn how to, all relay circuits are the same. It doesn't matter what it's operating. All relays, for the most part, 90% of relay circuitry is all the same. So if you learn how to do relay diagnosis, you can fix a lot of stuff with a test light. So we're going to go over a 5-pin relay tonight with a test light. There's some quick tests you can do with a test light. With a 5-pin relay, and it's that way on any relay. It doesn't matter if it's operating a fan, a light, a compressor, whatever it is. The test is going to be the same. You don't even have to go to the book. Once you learn these tests, you can go right to the relay and test it for power. Test the other side to see if it's going through the relay. You can check the ground. So there's a lot of things you can do with a relay with a test light. Anyway. I thought I got a little short video for you guys. I apologize for the videos that I've been doing. I've been short on time when I get off work. No, but does a 6-volt system have relays? You know what? I haven't worked on a lot of 6-volt systems. 6-volt systems were usually prior to about 1950, right in there. I don't see why they wouldn't have relays. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never worked on one that old that had a relay, but it'd be no different than any other DC system. I'm sure they use relays for different things, but I'm not positive for sure. Anyway, I'll play this. Hey, I want to tell you guys all thank you. All you guys that have bought stuff from me and have come here and and taking your time to be here on the lives. You know, I really appreciate that. And, you know, all the super thanks that we've gotten, and, you know, just you guys supporting the channel, you know, it means a lot to us. So I appreciate that 100%. I hope you understand that. Anyway, I'm going to play this quick little video. I took a quick little video of my diesel, that IDI that I'm thinking about. I can't figure out, do I want to sell this or do I want to sell the old Chevy? I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to play this quick little video for you. It's a pretty cool little project. Do I keep the old Chevy? That wasn't. Sell this IDI 92 Ford F-250 that I bought for a song in advance, or do I sell the Chevy and finish this in the Harley? This is a killer deal. This truck is like super clean. I bought this truck, didn't know if it even ran, didn't know if the motor was seized or what the deal was. Glitchy. I don't know why it was. The guy didn't have batteries in it, so I bought this truck for $700. Put glow plugs in it, threw a starter in it, bypassed the fuel tank, so we got some good fuel in it. It's got a 7.3 in it. I don't have my key on me. The interior is super clean. I don't know why the video is so glitchy. Is the video glitchy right now? We may be having issues with the internet tonight. I don't know. We'll see. No, it's a non-computer controlled 7.3, what they call an IDI. It doesn't have a computer. It's all mechanical. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Maybe it was something to do with my my video. It was maybe I shot it at 4K and was having a hard time with it. Anyway, hey, thanks, Wilt, for letting me know. So tomorrow's my Friday. I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays now. So if any of you that are here that haven't been to it before, come hang out with us on Friday night. We're going to give away one of these LED lights. Robert was nice enough when I went to give him his light today. He said, hey, just hang on to it and give it away next week. So he gave up his light so we could give this away for Friday. I don't know if, hey, thanks, Carl, for saying that. Did anybody send me pictures or video? Because I didn't even check my email today. I've been trying to get some videos loaded. I got one that's half done, but I made some videos with some of the lives. I did some of the, I did some like features of all the good parts of some of our lives. But anyway, tonight I thought I have a board all set up with a battery and the relay and everything, but I thought I'd walk you guys through with a test light, how to test a 5-pin relay with a test light. Because once you learn how to test a relay circuit, you can fix a lot of stuff, you know, and you can do a lot with a test light. Anybody want to share their project? Anybody got anything they want to share or talk about on their project? If not, I'll turn this board around and I'll try to get a good shot of what I'm doing so you guys can see what I'm doing and see how that goes. I know it's kind of tough, this vertical filming is kind of tough, but we'll make it work. Let me move some stuff around and I'll get this camera. Maybe I can do it from right here. Hang on just a second. If you're new to the channel, would you put a comment down and subscribe if you haven't subscribed? We do some cool stuff here. We got a good crew here, good bunch of guys. I think I might be able to just turn the camera. Give me a second. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Let's see what that looks like. I'm not sure. It's hard to see. Yeah, it's pretty tough. Let me zoom in on this relay. You guys, give me a second where I get some good lighting going here. You guys can see what I'm doing. Hopefully. I'll be glad when I can go to the more horizontal. On my day off, I'm going to figure that part out because there is a horizontal way now with StreamYard. Let's see if I can get it. I want to get a good close-up with this relay so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. I'll get it. Give me just a second. Where's the thing really right? Maybe we can get it to zoom in. Give me just a moment. Is that blurry to you guys? Does that look blurry? Can't tell. Maybe I could. Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks, Will. Give me a second. I'll get this to come in. That's better, huh? That looks way better. You guys can't see the battery. Thanks, Will. You guys can't see the battery, but what I'm doing is I'm hooking up this test light to the ground side of the battery. So on any relay, the first thing you should do is go power and ground with your test light to make sure it lights. See how it lights? You want to test. That's the first thing you should always do is check your light. And then on any relay, it doesn't matter what it is. When you go right here to pin 30, you should get a light. So when you go to pin 30, that light should light up. If you don't get a light on pin 30, you either got a blown fuse or you got no power to that circuit. So here's what can happen too. I'm going to pull the fuse out of this so you guys can kind of understand what's going on if you blow a fuse. So if you blow the fuse and you have good power and ground to the relay, this is what you're going to hear. You'll hear the relay kicking. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. The software shut off the audio and the camera for some reason. That was weird. You guys think you're funny, don't you? I burned something up. I've done that before, believe it or not. Okay, back to what we were doing. What the heck? What the heck is going on tonight? That's my laptop camera. For some reason, it shut everything down. Give me a second. I think when I cycle, it did it twice now when I turned that switch on and off. I think I picked up some interference. Oh, I think I'm picking up interference from the relay or something. Hang on a sec. Let me go back. What the heck is going on here? Okay, camera. See, it put me on my laptop camera. I'm going to switch back over to the other camera. Okay. Switch back over. See what happens on live TV? Check this out. Now, if I lose you guys again, it was something to do with this relay. So when I cycled that relay, it keeps shutting off the camera. I moved it away. Let's see if it does it again. Oh, we're good now. That was weird. Huh. So I had this relay kind of close to the camera, and every time I would flip that switch, it would turn the camera and the mic off. It ain't doing it now. It's blurry again. Yeah, because I moved it away. Hang on a sec. I might get through this tonight. I don't know. Get this thing back in. Okay, we'll try this again. How funny. That was weird. So the relay, the coil on that relay was creating some kind of a signal. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. See what happens on live TV? This is what those TV people deal with. Anyway, let's go back to what I was saying. So if you have a relay and it's kicking, you can hear it, but nothing's happening. More than likely what's happened is you've popped the fuse on that circuit. So you have a small power and a small ground, these small wires here. That's what creates that magnetic field to open and close. So the fuse can be blown for the number 30 wire because that's where the power comes in at. So the fuse can be blown and you'll still get the relay kicking. My laptop is acting up. Ha ha ha, how you like it? Well, a lot of times guys will go, well, it's working, I can hear the relay. But that doesn't mean you got power on pin 30. Because like now, remember how before we checked pin 30? So now look, when I check pin 30, get it where you can see the test light, I have no power. So that's why your first test at the relay should be check with pin 30 for power. If you don't have pin 30, you got a blown fuse or you got no power to that circuit. So I pulled the fuse out, you know, so we know that with pin 30 out, you have no power on pin 30. Like, so I put the fuse back in and now you can see we have power on pin 30. So any relay, no matter what it is, you should have power on pin 30. Sometimes they'll be fused, so you want to turn the key on and make sure it's not key power. So so what we can do now is, see the blue wire here? When we kick the switch, that should get hot because that's where the power is coming from. See, I don't know if you guys can see that, but see how the test light's lighting up now? That's because we have power through the switch. So the other thing you can do is you can check the ground. So see the little black wire right here? That's the ground for the electromagnet. So what you do is you take your test light and put the clamp on the positive side of the battery and then check it again, make sure it's working. When you touch here, that light should light. If you touch that pin 85 with the black ground on it and you don't get a test light, you got an open in the ground circuit. So you have to have a ground here on that pin 85. So the way the current goes is the voltage goes from the battery, it goes to the switch, and then when you flip the switch, it provides power on this blue pin 86. And when it provides power on that pin 86, the contacts close and it attaches pin 30 to pin 87. Does that make sense? So with a test light, just real quickly, if you didn't know anything about this circuit, you could check pin 30 for power. You should have power on pin 30. You could check pin 86 for power. You should have power on pin 86. And then when you turn when you activate the switch and you hear the relay kick, you should get power on pin 87. So you know it made it through to the circuit. So in other words, if you go here and you got power, you go here and you have a ground, you go here and you have power, when you flip the switch, you should get power out of this leg on the green wire on pin 87. If you don't get no power out of pin 87, you got power here, and a ground, you got a bad set of contacts. If you get power across to here, but the light doesn't light, you got a bad light or you got a bad connection. Anyway, okay, we'll call that is it possible to wire it up without the relay? On these lights, yeah, because they're really low wattage. I mean, they probably pull like less than an amp, but we're wiring this like if you were going to wire a horn, or let's say you're going to wire a horn or a headlight, an old style headlight, a halogen. Anything that takes over 20 amps of current is going to need a relay. But these type of lights, you don't have to have a relay for them. They don't pull that much current. And I can show you guys, next week, maybe I'll pull out an amp meter and I'll show you guys, let me get me back on the screen. Let's do this. Let's come back this way. You can see my ugly mug. Man, that's zoomed in. You see up my nostrils. I don't know if I want to be zoomed in that close. It's probably, is it, let me know if it's way blurry. What do you mean, Wilt, starter switch? Yeah. So anytime you're going to use something that's going to require more than about 20 amps of current, you need to use a relay. Because what will happen is the switch will become overtaxed and it'll just start melting and getting hot. A switch is only good for about exactly right. A starter relay is exactly what this relay is. It's just a bigger relay. It's the same concept. You know, a starter relay, it has two big cables on it, which is like the 30 and 87 on this. It's got a big cable that goes to the battery on this side, and then the other side goes to the starter. And then when you turn the switch, it sends power on this electromechanical part, just like on pin 85 and pin 86 on this small relay. Same concept. The contacts close and it connects the big cable from the starter to the cable, to the hot cable on the battery. Same concept, exactly. And that's why it's good to understand how relays work, because you'd be surprised how much of my work involves relay circuits. And that's why I wire them like this with this color, because if you wire them all that way, you can look at that relay and know that the blue wire is power coming from the switch. I always try to think of blue as button, because that's how you would do a horn. You would use a button here instead of a switch. So blue is either button or switch. The small black is the ground, and then pin 30 is always red. And then the green is where you want the power to go. So anything that I've wired, I can look at the relay and know like that, which wire goes where. And I don't have to chase through the harness and try to figure it out. I can just go, okay, green wire, that's going to the load. Red wire, that's coming from the fuse. You know, big red fuse, big green is where it's going. Small blue is where the power comes in from the switch. And then the black is a ground. So it makes it just really easy, especially if you're wiring something of your own. So you color code. Yes, I do. I do it that way. That way, if I go to any circuit I go to that I've wired with a relay on it, I can pick up that relay and I can look right at it, and I can just take a real fast with a test light. I can go pin 30, okay, it's hot. Pin 86, the blue wire, when I turn the switch on, it should be hot. The small black, I can check the ground, and I'm done. So I can diagnose that relay with this test light in about 30 seconds. So you can figure out a lot about it. The first test I always tell guys to do, check pin 30 with this. First thing, you go to pin 30 and you don't have a light, you got a blown fuse, or you got to open in the wire that goes to the relay. Usually it's just a blown fuse. So that pin 30 is a fuse circuit always, because that's the one that's carrying the load. So the small blue is a hot wire, but that's an unfused circuit. They never fuse the power on the electromagnetic side of the relays. Even though this is hot, that blue wire is hot, it's not fused, because it's a really, really small amount of current. It's like 250 milliamps. So that's why I tell people to use the small wires, because I've had arguments with guys say, why are you using such a small little wire? Well, because if I use that small little wire, I can look at the wires and I already know that black little wire is pin 85. I don't have to figure it out. I go, okay, small black wire, that's pin 85. Small blue wire, that's pin 86. That's the electro part of it. The big fat wires, pin 30 is power. The big green wire is where you want the power to go. So that's all the relay is doing. It's going, okay, we got a big heavy wire on pin 30 and we want to attach it to the green wire. And that's all that's going on inside of the relay, is when you power and ground those small wires, electric field happens and it just closes them and it touches them together. So that's all it's doing. That relay's taking that red 14 gauge red and it's attaching it to the 14 gauge green, just like a switch. So it just goes clunk and turns it on, and it opens and turns it off. And the two little wires, how that happens is it's just a electromagnet. It's just a big old coil of wires going from positive to negative. And when you create that electromagnet, it pulls those contacts together inside the relay. Afraid the small wires would burn through, or they won't. No, they won't, because the small wires, all the small wires are doing is there's a coil inside that relay, little tiny coils that go around and around and around, and it's just a magnet is all it is. And you can measure the current on this. They're usually like 200 to 400 milliamps, which is like less than half an amp. So these small wires are more than adequate for that circuit. I wouldn't put those small wires on the pin 30 or the pin 86, because those are the wires that are carrying the current. The small wires are just opening and closing the contacts, which takes very little current. Well, the relay is a fuse also. No. So on pin 30, you usually put an inline fuse on there. So there's two ways you can do it. If you have a circuit coming out of your fuse panel that's fused at, say, 30 amps or 20 amps, then you can tie it straight into the fuse panel. But if you don't have that, you want to use an inline fuse on pin 30 on that wire. So on that wire going from the relay this way, there needs to be an inline fuse. So the fuse is not part of the relay, but the fuse does protect the relay. So it's protecting that circuit between pin 30, the red wire, and pin 86, the green. So that way, if you get too much current on it or you get a short or something, it'll pop the fuse. Does that make sense? So you have to have a fuse on the circuit for pin 30. Yes, so the fuse is a protection device. Absolutely, Morgan. So the fuse is just protecting the circuit from an overload or a short to ground. So in your head, you just want to remember the 4 wires on the relay, only 2 of them have heavy current going through them. That's pin 30, the red wire, and pin 86, or pin 87, I'm sorry, the green, the heavy green. So that's the thing with relays. When you look at relays and there's 2 big wires and 2 small ones, the 2 big wires is the power coming in and the power going out to whatever you're driving. And the 2 small wires are for the contacts. And you'll see that on some just factory stuff. You look at the relay and there'll be 2 big ones and 2 small ones. And here's a trick you can do with a relay. Say you're fighting a circuit and you're not sure what's going on. You can just jumper, pull the relay off and jumper from pin 30 to pin 87. And then if whatever you're operating comes on, you know there's a problem with the relay or the control of the relay. So what I used to do a lot, like sometimes when you like want to drain a fuel tank and the computer's controlling the ground and all that for the relay, and I want to pump the fuel pump dry, I'll just pull the fuel pump relay and put a jumper between pin 30 and pin 87 and just let it run and pump the tank out. So it's pretty The relay it is a switch. It is a switch in a way, because that's all it does is there's a pair of contacts, just like points on a car. You know what points on a car look like? It's kind of similar to that on the inside. And what happens is when you power and ground 85 and 86, it creates a magnetic, it creates magnetism, and it pulls it down because of the magnetism. So it closes a switch. Switch, fuse, what's the difference? Switch or fuse. Okay, Wilt, let me explain that. So you're asking me what's the difference between a switch and a fuse? So a switch is a device that you turn something on and off with. But a fuse, what it is, it's a protection device. So if you have too much current going through that wire, or the positive wire touches ground somewhere, it burns the fuse in half, so it disconnects power. It's a protection device. So a fuse will burn and through, and a switch is just on and off. So a switch would just be a toggle switch. It's on, it's off. A fuse, all it does, it sits in line with the power wire, usually. And then if there's a problem with the circuit, the fuse says, hey, there's too much current on this line, or hey, somebody has grounded this wire, and it'll burn that fuse in half to disconnect power. Does that make sense? So a fuse is a protection device, and a switch is a control. Switch is to turn it on, turn it off. Had a relay handful of times go bad in his truck. When a relay is hot, it goes bad. Wasn't really as good. Yeah, it's pretty common for relays to get hot like that. What happens is those contacts inside there, they start to build up, they get dirty, just like a set of points on a car does. They get pitted and dirty, and over time, it starts to create heat, because bad connections is where heat comes from. Does that make sense to you guys? Is there something else I can explain, or try to explain it a different way? Relays usually get hot because they're being they're overfused, or the wires are too small. A lot of times guys will wire relays, and see how I ran these 14 gauge on the 30 and the 87? You run a 20 gauge wire on there and run 20 amps through it, it will get hot. Why doesn't the fuse blow? Like I said, sometimes the heat is coming from a contact in there, and poor connections creates heat. Poor connection doesn't always create current. So like the only way I can really explain it is, like, if you've ever been using like a saw or something outside AC, and you unplug it and the end of the thing's hot, usually it's because it has a connection problem and it's arcing inside there. So when you get bad connection, it's arcing and it's creating heat. Even though it's creating heat, it's not creating a high current draw. So the fuse only blows if there's excess amperage to the circuit, or the circuit got grounded. And so the only thing that's going to create a fuse to blow is if the current on that circuit exceeds the size of the fuse. So if it's a 20 amp fuse, you know, it's going to have to see 30 amps for a certain length of time before it pops that fuse in half. Sometimes you'll see peak amps where they go up and they go back down. If you ever watch stuff like motors and stuff with a multimeter, when they first engage, they ramp up high and they drop down. So a lot of fuses are designed to take a little bit over, but not for any length of time. Fuse is too big. Yeah, exactly, Wilt. That'll do it. Like if you like Wilt said, let's say you have a like you're running a 40 amp fuse on a 30 amp relay. That'll do it. It'll get hot because it's allowing it to exceed what the relay is capable of. Yes, Father Time, that is true. So the whole purpose of a relay is so you can take a small amount of current and control a very large amount of current. Okay. So what are your choices? Let's use a starter motor for example. If you're going to run a 300 amp circuit, what are your choices? Your choices are to bring in a big old huge cable this big and a big giant switch that can take 300 amps, or you use two little small wires like on 85 and 86, right? Two small little wires to close a set of contacts. Then the high amperage is being delivered by the high amperage side of this relay. So you're right. A small amount of current to control a large amount of current. That's exactly why we use relays. And that's what happens. That's why I tried to explain. That's why the switches burn up. Guys will wire these and they understand positive and negative, but they don't understand that the switch is rated at about 12 to 14 amps right in there. And then they'll run a switch on a 30 amp circuit. And what happens is the switch overheats and then it burns up, gets hot and melts because it's not rated for that high of an amperage. So relays, and we can go over, if you guys wanted to, next week I'll show you how to wire a relay. You can control either side of the relay. So at the switch, you can either send power to the switch, and then when you flip the switch, it sends power over the relay, or you can power up the relay. So you could put power on pin 86, and then send the ground over to the switch. So instead of controlling the power, you're controlling the ground. It's the same concept. You're just on the other side. So you can either bring power through the switch to turn the relay on, or you can bring a ground through the switch to turn the relay on. Just make the truck crank over and not start. So a bad starter relay, is that what you're talking about, Carl? A bad starter relay? I like to control the ground. This is easier for people to understand. I like to control the ground. And the way where that comes into play sometimes is like, say you have something that goes to ground, like let's say a door switch or something, you know, that you want. So when you close the door, you want something to happen. Well, that's when you would hook this up the other way. And then you would make the door switch be the ground. So when you close the door, right, you already got power to the relay. And then when the door closes, it knows, hey, the door's closed, and that's the ground. The relay that goes in by the fuses. Carl Anderson, the relay that goes in by the fuses. Okay, so if you have so you're talking about, sometimes they have a small relay that controls the starter relay out at the starter. If that relay goes bad, the vehicle will not crank. It just won't crank at all. If it's cranking but it won't start, that's not a relay problem. If it's cranking but won't start, then you got other issues. So you either got no fuel, no spark, or no compression. Yeah. What's your question, Will, on the fuel pump relay? Are you trying to make a statement? A lot of times what we'll do, we'll use relays to like create a key power. So like when we're setting up cars that we need a lot of circuits for, we'll take a relay and hook it to a sub panel, right? And then we'll use a key power to turn the relay on that turns on the sub panel. So we can have 20 key powers if we want. And then we fuse those circuits on the fuse panel. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but a lot of times it's hard to find key power on vehicles, especially when you're hooking up a lot of things. And so if you need, let's say you need 5 key powers. Well, it's best just to take a relay, right? And then use like a 40 amp relay and then run your key power that you have available to pin 30. And then that green wire on pin 87, run a 12 gauge wire and run that over to a small little fuse panel. And now you got key power anytime you need it. It's kind of a neat little way to set up key power. Anyway, how you guys doing on your projects? Anybody making any headway on their projects this week? Man, I didn't get a lot done this week because I started back to work. Tomorrow's my Friday. So right now I'm building basically a police car for another department. So I'm building a Ford Explorer, putting in the partitions and all the electrical, the lights and the radios. And I put antennas in the top of the roofs today, and pulled some circuits for the lighting. It takes about 4 days to build one of those from start to finish. So that's getting all the lighting in, getting all the radio stuff in, putting the partitions in. Usually about 40 hours, somewhere like that. My small block relay you just shown on my dad's truck. It gets hot, so truck won't start. My dad just replaced the relay and fix the problem until relay gets hot again. So Carl, you're talking about the relay that goes in the fuse panel? And it's on a Chevrolet. Oh, that's cool, Father Time. I need to go over to this town nearby me to look at a shop over there. Hey, Carl, you know what I would think about doing? Take a look at the starter relay, the one that's on the starter. Yeah. So that you're saying, because some cars have 2 relays. There's a small relay in the fuse panel, and that relay activates the relay on the starter. Take a look at that starter relay. Maybe that starter relay is pulling too much current, and that's what's burning up the first relay. Because the first relay activates the other relay. I bet you got a bad starter relay on the starter. On the side of the starter. I'll bet that's what's happening. Next week I'll show you guys how to test that. Hey, Carl, do you have a multimeter available to you for testing? Hey, Father Time, what size shop do you have? Yeah, that's a good comment, Father Time. Yeah, make sure you got a good ground. Sometimes the ground straps at the starter themselves could create problems. But yeah, check the ground on the relay, that one that's getting hot. Starter has problems. If I push the clutch all the way in, then it won't start. Have to push clutch part way in to start. Hey, Carl, there's a switch on your clutch pedal that's what your issue is with the clutch. So on a clutch vehicle, they interrupt that circuit until you push the clutch in, so you can't start it in gear. Take a look at that switch. Get underneath there and look at the pedal on the clutch. There should be a micro switch on there. the micro switch is either out of adjustment or it's just worn out. Yep, clutch safety switch, exactly, Will. Hey, Carl, take a look at that switch on the clutch pedal. There's a switch on there, should be a 2-wire. Just 1 wire going in and 1 going out. It depends, though. Some of them will have 3, depending on what they're doing with it. Father Time, what size is the shop that you put the service in? I need to build me a big shop. But what would make the relay go bad? Yeah, hear what Wilt's saying. You can jumper it with a paper clip, but just remember when that clip is in there, it'll start in gear. All for your farm equipment. Yeah, I'm looking to put in. I'm looking to put in a 30 by 50 prefab on my property. I got a place. I got to go over there and take a look and see what they have available. That's an expensive little project. I'm thinking about trying to do the concrete myself. So it sounds like you just keep putting relays in this thing and they get hot and then it stops working and you put another relay in it and it works for a while and it gets hot and then it takes out the relay, huh? You need to get a multimeter out and start checking stuff at the relay. Look at voltage. How much voltage do you have at the pin 85 and 6? So pin 86, you should see almost battery voltage. And pin 85 should be a ground. So you need to check that ground to the relay with an ohm meter or do a volt drop. And then check the voltage at the pin 30 and look for you're looking for low voltage or a bad ground. And then, like I said, don't forget about that starter relay on the starter because one relay controls the other. You know, so when you go to crank, right, that pin 86 on the relay gets power. You want to see what is that voltage on pin 86 when you go to crank. And then it goes through there to ground. Check that ground. And then check the voltage on pin 30 and make sure it's close to battery voltage. And then how much voltage is coming out the other side on pin 87. And then if it checks out, take a look at that wire that goes from the primary relay that's in the junction box down to the starter. Because that's the main power. It's a yard truck, but it wouldn't take much to make it roadworthy. That'd be cool. A 30 by 60, that's a good size shop. I wanted to put a 40 by 60 in, but I think I'm gonna put a 30 by 50. It's a little cheaper and I got a little more room. I'm gonna put I want to do a little hangover on the outside with more concrete where I got a place to park on the side of the shop on the outside. Oh, you had a dirt floor. Did you put the building up and then do the concrete after? Because I thought about that. I was like, why couldn't I just put the building up and then do the concrete later? Man, that concrete's an expensive adventure. And my back's not getting any younger, that's for sure. Like a pole barn, yeah. I can't get away with that here. I live in the city limits, so I'll have to put up like a prefab type building. Pole barns are nice, especially if you live out in the ag areas. Well, you guys make sure you come to the live on Friday because we're gonna give away another one of these. Robert gave away his light. He said, go ahead and give it away next week. So we're gonna give away another one of these lights. Motorin got a set of these. He got a set of 4. He said he really liked them. The description for these are in the or the link for these are in the description of the video. And then I put a link for a power probe. I got to get a power probe in my hand so I can show you guys Idaho. Yeah, that makes the difference, right? That says it all. I wanted to move to Idaho. I went up there and looked around, and I was seriously thinking about moving to Idaho. And but the prices just right at the time that I was looking, the prices were getting crazy high like they are here. Idaho used to be a really good deal. V-twin breeding insert. I got a power probe for you. Joke here. Yeah, I bet you do. A power probe is actually a really good tool for doing electrical diagnosis. They're about $135, but I tell people if you're going to buy a test light and it's going to be $50, spend $135 and get a power probe, man. They're so much better of a tool. They go from the front to the back of the car. And you just hook them up at the battery. You got a power and a ground right in your hand. It's just it's probably one of the most time saving tools that you can have in your toolbox. But Friday night, hey, have you guys been? I know you guys. Most of you guys have been at the Friday nights. How you liking doing the history thing on Friday nights? Spend a little more for better quality. What are you talking about, Carl? Power probe, they have some things they call power probes, but they're not made by Power Probe. Yeah, I know it did. I know it did, Father Time. Yeah, it caused a lot of problems in a lot of places. My daughter, she lives in Tennessee, and the people that live there now, their kids can't even afford to own a home there. They've lived there their whole lives, and they can't buy a house because everybody from California drove up the prices of the land in Tennessee. You like the history's been kind of fun. I got some good ones coming up, man. I had some ideas today about some of the history that I think will be fun. Test light, yeah, get a good one, yeah. So these Snap-ons, I always buy a Snap-on. You know, I don't buy a lot of things from Snap-on, but some of the things I believe in buying from Snap-on is their test lights. They have they have really good ratchets that I enjoy. Their ratchets are good quality, but some of the stuff I won't buy anymore because it's all made in China now. It's, you know, a big part of Snap-on stuff now is made overseas, which is crazy. You think you're buying American and you're not. It's hard to buy American tools now. Like I've said before on the lives, go to the yard sales, man. That's the only place you're going to find an American-made tool. Here's an American-made tool that'll surprise you. I was surprised. channel lock. This is probably the best pair of crimpers you can buy. I've crimped a lot of crimps, and see how long they are compared to a different set. They're super long, so they have really good leverage. They're the best. They're the best crimpers you can buy. I bought Klein's. I bought a couple different types, and these are the best. And you can get these for like $30. The same way with their channel lock, their actual channel locks that they still make. You can buy a set of 18-inch channel locks from Channel Lock for like $45, $50. Well, I could imagine. Yeah, Channel Lock makes, and you know what? They're still made here. They're still made in America. They're still made where they were first built from. I did a little video on them one time about Channel Locks. They're like a 5th generation American-made company, and they're still being made here. And it's still a good bargain and a good quality tool too. They're good quality. I got nothing bad to say about Channel Lock. Like I said, I bought a pair of Klein's. They wouldn't hardly open and close. You couldn't do this with them. I lubed them, man. I did all kinds of stuff. Tried to get them to free up. I ended up giving them back to the tool guy. I said, those are the biggest piece of junk I've ever owned. And I got a pair of Channel Locks. My boss told me, he said, hey, get you the best pair you can find. So I said, all right. So I looked around, and everybody was saying, oh, Klein's the best. Klein's the best. So I bought a set of Klein's, and they were like $100 and something bucks. They were like $120. And they were the biggest piece of junk I ever had. I gave them back to him. I gave them back to the tool guy and said, order me some Channel Locks. I have yet to find a pair that were better than those. He found on the ground on his property. It was there. Is there a way I can send you pictures, see if you know what it is? Yeah, for sure. Here, matter of fact, I've been trying to get everybody to send me pictures of their projects so we can get them posted on here while we're on. Hey, Carl, this is all lowercase, not uppercase, all lowercase. And look how it's spelt. It's Fidty. A lot of people spell it wrong. Maybe next Thursday, if you guys got projects going on, shoot me a picture, snap me a picture of your project, and we'll get it posted on the live where everybody can see everybody's projects. I got to get going, man. I got to get going on my projects. I got that truck to finish. I want to start on that Chevy pickup. Man, you know, how old are you, V-twin breed? How old are you? I find as you get older, it's hard to find work. It's kind of surprising to me because older people, they don't have a lot of issues like, you know, a bunch of kids to take care of. 38. I know for me, and my girl, she's been trying to find work. Man, when you get to be around 60, nobody wants to hire you. What kind of work do you do? Are you a wrencher? Are you wrenching? Yeah, money's a problem, man, when you're trying to build projects. You know what I found is, you know, if you can pick up stuff that needs a little work, you can barter and get, you know, 2 vehicles for one, or, you know, do some work or on it. And that's a nice thing about learning how to do auto mechanics. You can always make a little money, you know, picking up things that need work on. So I got to get I want to get my electric light into the garage. That's one of my big projects. I got to get my electric light in there and start tearing it down. Did delivery, but it's getting too expensive and hard to do out in Indiana. I can't be driving 100 miles just to commute every day before even adding on the other 100 miles of work. Yeah, it's tough, huh? Yeah, it's you just got to stay after it. I know it's it's kind of depressing sometimes when you're trying to find work, but every time I ever was looking for work, it seemed like I had a hard time looking for a while, and then I'd get like 3 or 4 job offers all at once. Here were downsides. He was in his mid to late 70s, but still could do the job. Yep, I see that happening a lot. I was lucky to go back to do work where I'm working at now. But, that's what electrical does for you. If you understand electrical, you'll always have a job, because there's so many people that don't like doing electrical. And once you learn it, you become the guy that people want to hire, because it was pretty nice for me to go back to my old job. But it was kind of weird because, like, my boss now, Robert, that was on here last Friday, I used to be his boss. And then when I retired, he became my boss. Hang on, my battery's going low for some reason. Oh, I got to plug this thing in. So, but it worked out really good. He's a good guy. So I went back to work, in the same shop that I left being the boss, and now I'm out in the shop wrenching, which I kind of like wrenching. Hang on, I got to plug this thing in. I enjoy being out in the shop. I kind of like what I do, so I don't mind. You know what? I almost moved to Bangor, Maine. Close by there. I had a guy that I found, it was something pond. I can't remember now. But I was going to sell my house and move there. I almost did. Yeah, I got to brush up on my math and stuff again. My dad finished his master's getting electrical engineering and controller skill set before he passed. I got to do something. Man, a long year. Yeah. Sometimes you got to switch it up, man. I've been a lot of things in my life. I've done so many different kind of jobs. Automotive just worked out for me, There's always something. That's, these young kids always tell them, man, always have a pickup. No matter how broke you get, man, if you have a pickup, you can make money. It may not be the money you want to be making, but you can always make money with a truck. There's always somebody needs something hauled, dirt hauled, something moved. I used to do that a lot when I was younger, just hustling with my pickup, doing loads of different things just to make a little money. Like I said, you're not going to be making $500 a day, but you can make $100 a day. I think in 1982, my dad was a mechanic for Maine Cement in Vesey, Maine. They never told the workers anything but to leave. They closed the gate behind the workers. They closed for good. Yeah, that's a thing, man. You could, that's. I took a big cut in pay to go to work for a public agency. For the government agency. It was, it was a county. But I took a big cut in pay when I went to work for them. It cost me like $8 an hour to go to work for them. But it had a retirement, and it had good medical benefits. And that's why I left. And I'm so glad I did, because I know so many people that are in the automotive industry that when they leave, they don't have anything. A lot of these dealerships, they don't offer any kind of retirement. So all the guys you see wrenching in the dealerships, most of them have no retirement plan. So I was lucky to actually put in 25 years, and get a pension. But even that, it's not enough money, especially living in California. you can't live off your Social Security and pension anymore. You got to be working. I'm working part-time, and that's why, because I got to be able to pay my bills, you know. Well, boys and girls, I think I'm going to call it a night. I got to get up early tomorrow at 5, and tomorrow's my Friday. So I hope I see you guys on Friday night. We're going to give another one of these away, and we'll have some really good history questions about the automotive trade. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for stopping by tonight. I really appreciate it. Take care.